says we're live.
We're live. Yeah. We we are live. Hey
We're live.
everybody. I'm gonna share it to my other page.
Oh,
Yes, you're gonna share it to your page. I can share it to your
will you
page.
share it to my page?
I will. I
I don't.
will.
I don't have the foggiest idea how to do any of that. I'm amazed I got on this.
I know. It's a whole thing. I think Jake and I, it took an hour for us to get the stream going when we were trying to do it.
Well, you
It's
know
a
what
mess.
they tell us on the stage when things happen that are not perfect. It makes us human, and
Yes, it
everybody
does.
loves it. Makes us feel better about our mistakes.
Exactly. It means that it's all going to turn out beautifully.
Oh,
It always does. It always turns out how it's supposed to.
yep, that's
Yes.
right.
Hey everybody.
Hello.
Hi, Sean. Hey Sean. Hey, Mr. Mac. How are you? And I'm going to share this to Miss Blythe's page. Yes. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. How's it going? Share to your page. I need to hire somebody to like do all of this stuff.
Don't you
I
have a husband?
I do, but he only does he only does the setup. Everything
Ah,
after that,
see, yeah,
he he doesn't want to do. So,
I
boo
get
hoo.
it.
I know. How are you today?
Me? Oh, I
Yes.
am fine. I'm fine because today my husband and I went out. We went to the farmer's market. We got some delicious stuff. I got my imperfect food box today.
Oh,
My
talk about that.
crazy, oh, honey, that crazy looking sweet potato. Um, yeah, we went out and we drove around. We were outside for a little while and it was beautiful. And now everything is sort of looking like it's going to storm any second. So,
Yes. Oh, let's hope it holds out. I'm hoping it holds out because we need we need this to go well. All right. I'm so happy you're here. You are such a fan. I mean, such a supporter.
uh,
Well,
um, I am a
oh,
fan. You are right.
I didn't mean it like
No,
that.
no, no. I know you didn't mean it, but you are. I am a super fan. I've been a super fan for years.
Oh my goodness. Listen,
Mhm.
people don't know that we go way back.
Yes, we do.
And I remember when you sang quickly in Philadelphia. And I was still a student at Curtis. I think it might have been my first or second year. And Susan Ashbaker let me study cover Alice. And I got to see you in all your magnificence. And I was like, holy, like
That
this
was a
woman.
crazy show. That
It
is a
was.
crazy show. Kenneth, I have not made hash yet out of that potato, but it that is happening tomorrow. I'm cutting up the crap out of that potato. It oh, that was a crazy production. And the thing that was wild about it was that it was Barbara oh,
Daniels.
Daniels. My God. It just goes to show you how many years ago it was Barbara Daniels who was singing Alice, and she and I had done it at the Met. So the
Oh,
night that I went on for Marilyn Horne, which was the beginning of my career at the Met, I had just done that with Barbara, and she was a scream. She was a scream, and my favorite thing was before every show she'd come up, she'd say, tap my breasts." So we'd have to pat each other's breasts for good luck because
because
she
she
always
had
wore your tits to the sky, all every single time. And she
every
was a
single.
scream. She had the craziest language I have ever heard. She'd make a trucker blush. She was unbelievable, but she was the funniest Alice. And the thing that was great was she understood how funny sexy is. Yes, and she understood how sexy funny is.
Mm.
You know, it was a wonderful balance of the two. And She was just wonderful. Well, the whole cast was great. That's how where I met Robert Orth on that show. Bob
Yeah,
was our Ford.
he certainly
It was
was.
such a lovely group of people. Lovely. Yeah.
Yes.
And that
It
was
was a
when I learned how to talk to directors on that show. It was the
mm.
first time I ever kind of tr- tried to, you have to know how to talk to directors. With all due respect to all my directing friends, of which I have many, you all know very well, and all of you have taught me very well, that you never get anything your way. Um, well, we all know how you get your way.
We all know
You
how
know what
you
I'm
get
saying? You know how you do it.
it.
You never get your way by telling people this is the way I want it.
Doesn't
You
work
know,
it.
it's
Mm-mm.
you have to learn how to be collegial. Either
Mhm.
that or you just you and I talked today about some of my language and some of the
Exactly. That's okay.
directors.
You cash your check. Okay, we got to cheers.
Yeah.
With
Cheers.
cheers to another great combos.
Mm-hmm.
mm, wonderful. All right, so we can say hi to some people. Hi, Patrick McCoy,
Mm.
Emerson. Hey, yes, Alan Morrison. We love Alan. We're going to do a Spivey Hall, Oregon and Soprano.
Fantastic.
Big and hopefully, if everyone wears their mask and stays in the house,
Ugh.
we can get back. But Margarita, my best friend. Hey,
Mm,
girl.
mm, mm.
Leila. Hey, Liz. You wonderful. All right, Miss Blythe, Miss Stephanie. So, tell the people where you're from.
Well, I am from upstate New York. I was born in Ellenville, New York, which is very funny because now that I'm teaching at Bard College, I have gone right back home. I've done all my traveling around,
Mhm.
and now all of a sudden I'm right outside of Ellenville again. Um, but I grew up in the Catskill Mountain region. I'm the daughter of a jazz musician who played in all the hotels in the Borscht Belt of upstate New York, or the Southern Tier, rather, the Southern Tier, um,
Ah,
in the Catskill Mountains. And I'm a child of New York. I went to school in upstate New York at SUNY Potsdam, and uh, and now I'm firmly fixed at Bard. So
just
I'm
full
here.
circle.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes. So how did you find your voice? And you grew up in a musical family. Did you
I
play
grew.
instruments?
I played flute and baritone saxophone because I wanted to play in the stage band very badly because my dad is a jazzer and I could
Mhm.
not improvise on flute, not to save my life. I could sit there and cry.
Right.
Oddly enough, my father never asked me to improvise singing, which I can do very well. But I
Mm.
couldn't hear, at that point in my life, I couldn't hear where a line was going. I couldn't hear the end of the sentence.
Mm.
And so that's why I couldn't do it. Um, and I so I picked up the baritone saxophone because then I could be the bass, which made me very happy. I could play in the stage band, and also when I was in concert band, I could just go from. I was first flute in our concert band, so when I had something exciting to play, I'd do that, and then I'd go back and I'd move into the saxophone section and play bari sax, which was great
Mhm.
fun. And I sang in the chorus, but I didn't start singing in the chorus until I was in my sophomore year of high school because my dad really didn't want me to sing in the chorus. He wanted me to play in the
Really?
band. Yeah.
Okay.
So I did
Mm.
you know what? My dog is going to be a huge pain in the ass tonight. I can tell you right now. She is
He
just
wants to make
bringing me
his
stuff to
debut,
play
honey.
with. Ugh, anyway,
That's okay.
so um, I did the musical my freshman year. I sang Agravain in Once Upon a Mattress.
Hmm.
And my chorus director, Martin Banner, went to my family and said, she has to be in the chorus. She has to sing. So I sang from then on. But I had
Mm.
been singing, I'd sung little things on and off. I wasn't in the chorus when I was in junior high, but my three best friends and I formed a barbershop quartet. So
Oh,
I was the high tenor in the barbershop quartet. The
of
old
course.
songs, the old songs. Yes, I still remember all of our tunes. And so I did that. Yeah, it was really cool because we wanted to form a rock band. But one played the euphonium, one played the trombone, I played the flute, and the other played alto sax and bassoon. And none of those really said rock and roll.
No.
No.
Just your
But
attitude
yeah,
was rock.
exactly. But now I sing with a rock and roll band, so I got that, I got that going a little bit.
That
But
dream came true.
I was really lucky that I went to a school that had the Monticello Central School District had an amazing music program, had
Mm.
I had lots of wonderful friends and good support there, great teachers, and I loved it. And I found myself there because I was I wasn't always the happiest child when I was in high school and junior high. So
Mm.
this it gave me a place to hide, and it gave me a place to
Right.
find myself at the same time, which is
Hmm.
very
A lot
poetic.
of Yes, it is. A lot of artists go through that. I
Oh,
remember
oh yeah.
being not like everybody else and
Mm-mm.
being so different and not understanding the angst and the moods, it swings and all that stuff until
Oh
I found
yeah.
music.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
But it also it just gives you a sense of music gives you a sense of community, and it also gives you a sense uh, of being part of the world when you
Mhm.
don't feel like you're part of anything at all.
Absolutely.
And that really made me feel great. And my best friends were all involved in music, so it that was really, and we're still friends to this day.
There you
The
go.
the people that I made friends with then, I'm still friends with now. Oh, for God's sake, June, shut up. This is She
It's
wants me to toss
okay.
this damn thing. I'm gonna kill her. I'm just gonna
He
kill her.
said no time. What's the dog's name?
June. Her name is
June.
Dainty.
Right.
Her name is Dainty June. She's named
Thank you.
after June from I musical theater. My pug was Agnes Gooch. So I have
Ah,
musical theater names for my pets.
smart
Yes,
for
June, I tell you what, I could just and she's right back with it. Unbelievable.
That's okay. We're family here. We're just
Yeah.
gonna roll with it. We're just gonna roll with
So
it.
that's the story. So that's how and that's I but I didn't start really studying voice full on until I was about 21.
Hmm.
I was at college, and I had went through a load of stuff in college, and all that stuff has been written about, and I've talked about it before. My I had my semester where I majored in marijuana. I talked about that in the New York Times, and sort of
There you go.
went off the beaten path for a little while. Found myself again in liberal arts. So I have a liberal arts
Hmm.
degree in English in writing,
Okay.
and then I continued. I went back and I finished my music degree, and I got my music degree in voice.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it took me a few years, and
That's okay. For all of those
yeah,
ones who are they're trying to find their way. You
it you
too
know
can.
it took me it took me about 6 years to get two undergraduate degrees, and I stayed up in Potsdam for almost a year after that, preparing to do auditions. I did the
Hmm.
Houston audition and the Met
Hmm.
audition. And so I placed third in Houston, and I was a winner in New York. They asked me to join the Young Artist Program. That's it.
That's
That's
it.
my big story.
Done. And so in the program, I mean, and a
Done.
lot of people listen, I didn't get into Oberlin. I wanted to go to Oberlin, I didn't I auditioned for Houston like 3 times and I've gotten to San Francisco. So there you go, right? Like
I was too
that's how it
fat for the Houston program,
oh, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
so
We'll talk about
but
that.
I wasn't too
Right.
fat for the Met program.
There you
So
go. Like they
whatever.
got something right, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so you get to the Met program
Yeah.
and you're there with like all of the most amazing, particularly at that time,
That
where
was
all
a
of the best singers in the
that was
world.
a golden age. I was in that program with Michelle DeYoung, um, John Osborne, Nathan Gunn,
Mm.
with Nora Amsalem,
Yes, Nora.
Tony
Yes, of course.
Griffey, Christine Gerke, Sandra Rovanovsky, Maggie
Mhm.
Lattimore. It was a great time.
Yes.
It was a great time. Um, it was, and that was, yeah, it was scary and wonderful. And I did about 2.5 years in the program, and the last half I spent in Philadelphia. I did
Right.
2 or 3 shows in Philadelphia, and then
Hmm.
then I went on. But I sang every season at the Met for 20 years.
Wow.
So
Tremendous.
yeah, it was.
Trem
I mean, it was a wonderful place to sing. I loved it.
Yeah.
You know,
What are some of your best memories of being in and being a young artist, being in the Lindemann program?
I think I think definitely going on for Marilyn Horn and Falstaff. That's got to be a gigantic thing. That was amazing. Um,
Mhm.
I would say there's a lot of really great things. I
Well,
I
tell us.
covered I covered
Yeah.
my first year. I covered Marilyn Horn as Samira in Ghost of Versailles,
Hmm.
and I got to do a rehearsal with the principal cast, and that was incredible, absolutely incredible, with John Corleano and William Hoffman there. And it
Wow.
was really funny because several years ago when they were doing the show in LA, um, Corleano actually called me and he said, "Do you still remember?" He knew that I still remembered the aria, and said, "Would you
Hmm.
please record the Arabic for me?" And I said, "Sure." And it was really interesting because when I remember my very first coaching with Kamal Khan on that aria, he said, "Okay, let's go through the Arabic." And I said, "Sure." Limada khajartani khatamta qalbi kaifa tafal bi hadha. It's like, but I had taken Arabic in college. I spoke it, I spoke, I could carry on a conversation in Arabic and I could write a little bit.
Wow.
And I did that for a
Yes.
year. And so I remembered it. I just remembered
Oh,
it. And that
that's
was,
they didn't remember it.
that was incredible. And I remember it to this day.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, there are too many things. I mean, I think probably Orfeo is one of my favorite memories. Singing
Hmm.
Orfeo, that was incredible. Doing Peter Grimes, the old production of Peter Grimes with Pat Rissette,
Yeah. Oh, wow.
that was insane. That was
Hmm.
insane. Um, being there when I mean, being there for Latanya singing Aida,
Aida, yes.
that was a major high point. Seeing that unbelievable, I mean, that was incredible. Being in the house opening night for Larry Brownlee's debut, that was
Yes, that
amazing.
was incredible
Were,
debut. I
were you
remember
there for
that.
that?
I was because I think that might have been the year that was went on or covered. I think I was covered or something. I was there doing something, covering or
Incredible.
singing, whatever. And I
Incredible.
mean, the house, he bought the house down.
Yes,
They
he
went
did. Yes, he
absolutely
did.
nuts. I'd never seen anything like that before.
I think singing in Macropolis case with Jesse Norman was amazing. Seeing
Hmm.
seeing Queen of Spades with Leonie Riesnick,
Yeah.
outrageous.
Oh, legend. Oh,
Unbelievable. Total legend. I mean, being in that house when I first went in there singing with Teresa Stratas, that was like when I first went into that house, the people who had been the biggest influences on me were all either at just the end of their career or retiring. So I mean, I
mhm.
saw Franny and Domingo do Fedora. I
Oh.
was standing right off stage. You know, I saw Debbie Voigt singing Sieglinde.
Yeah.
I mean, just the most. Not she wasn't about to retire, but it was a moment. It was a
Moment.
great moment. I got to sing uh, Fricka with Jim Morris. That has
Mm.
got to be. If I had a top five, that might possibly be number one.
Jim Morris singing
Jim Morris singing Votan.
all time.
That may very well be number one. Singing, Rake's Progress with Dawn Upshaw, Sam Raimi, and Jerry Hadley.
Yes, legend,
That,
legend, legend. Yes.
holy shit. When that happened, when that happened, I was like, I remember being on stage, and it was so funny because it was a beautiful costume. And I did the show after Denise did it. I did two
Uh-huh.
performances, but Denise was the original. Denise Graves was the original Baba,
Yes.
and she was so lovely and so kind to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I did my when I went on in my show, because I did two of them. I was wearing this really long cloak, and it was covered in like feathers on the side,
Mm-hmm.
and it was beautiful. And I went on to take my bow, and it might have been my first night. My was one of those two nights. I went to take my bow, and as I was walking across the rate stage, I
Mm-hmm.
tripped and fell. So like the audience is clapping and clapping and clapping, and then boom, then I fell down, and all I hear is oh, it was horrible. And all of a sudden, there's Sam Raimi and Jerry Hadley rushing to help me up, and I'm like, well, I
Right.
might have to do this every night.
Exactly. Let me
I
just
might
lay
have
here
to do
for
this
a
every.
minute.
It was incredible, and Jerry was.
Yes.
I still get chills thinking about Jerry doing that role,
Mm-hmm.
and being in the room, being a young singer and being in the room with Sam and Dawn and Jerry, and just experiencing this level uh, of professionalism and also total fucking around. Oh, sorry, total screwing around.
We curse here. It's okay.
Okay,
It's all right.
um, because nobody could waste time in rehearsal like Jerry. Nobody. He could walk in
Yes.
and he'd
I
start telling,
experienced it.
right? He'd start telling
Uh-huh.
jokes, and like 45 minutes later, the directors would be like, you know, Jerry really got to start.
You're
And
right.
and it was just, oh, it was heaven. It was heaven. And Sam was so generous and wonderful, and always has been. All of it was just, it was the most amazing feeling to be
Mm,
surrounded by the people who inspired me to be a singer in the first place.
yes.
And to sit there with people like, to talk to Rosalind Elias, God rest her soul, what an
Mm,
amazing human being. And
absolutely.
Teresa Stratas back in 98.
Hmm.
And I remember, one, I she was just, we just honored her last year, um, at the Met Guild
Opera.
luncheon, and I was given the honor of speaking about her. And I told people this story that, one day in rehearsal, she and I were sort of hanging out and talking, and it was crazy. I was sitting there thinking, "You're Teresa Stratus," the whole time. And so, you've been there, right? Where you're like,
Yes.
but outside, you're,
Hmm.
yeah, it was lovely to talk to you. And
Uh-huh.
and um, she said, "You know something, Stephanie? You have everything it takes to have a great
Mm,
career. You've got the voice, you've got the personality, you've got the acting, you've got it all. You have it all. Just do me one favor. Don't lose weight."
mm.
And she's
She
like, she said that to me. She said, "I want you to take that from a fat little Greek girl who came to this country and then was told that she had to look like Audrey Hepburn, like everybody else."
mm.
And I was like, "Well, Miss Stratus, I'm just trying to be happy." And she said to me, "Why don't you try to do something easy?"
Oh,
And for me, that was it. I was just a kid when she told me that. I was just a
wow.
kid. And, you know, I've actually passed that information on to young artists. And whenever I talk to a young artist and I give them some sort of grain of information that someone's passed on to me like that, I always finish the phrase with, "And now I want you to tell a young artist this someday. You tell them this story and pass it on,
Pass it on.
because somebody's going to need to hear it, you
Mm,
know."
absolutely, absolutely. And who were some of the your biggest mentors during that period of time? Because I definitely want to go into like who are the people who are your musical husbands, because I know you have this
Oh,
whole career, but I want to talk about like, who were your mentors, early on? Who were the people that encouraged you? I mean, listen, we all know that you have the old-fashioned career, right? The,
Yeah.
the traditional
Yes.
big
Very.
career. You saw all your roles and all the major opera houses all over the world. You've had the career,
No,
but
I will make one correction on that. And
mhm,
that is that, I'm frequently referred to as an international opera singer. I am not an international opera singer. I am an American singer who has occasionally sung in Europe. I have never had a debut in Germany. Never. I sang once in Germany with the Saarländische Rundfunk, preparing
mhm,
to make a recording with John Nelson and the Ensemble Orchestre de Paris. I sang in
mhm,
Paris. I sang in London a lot. I sang in Paris a lot. I sang in I sang once in Florence with the Richard Tucker Gala, and
mhm.
that's it. I am an
Wow.
American artist. I have had the bulk of my career right here, and I wanted that. I wanted
Mm.
that. Um,
Talk that. Talk about that
well, I'm
because
an
people think that differently.
but the thing is that that's what's great is that people can have different kinds of careers. It's okay. You don't have to sing in Europe. You don't have to. I have lots of friends who've made the bulk of their career right here. I'm an American. I'm not ashamed of it. I love to sing here. I've sung in all the major houses in this country and loved it. And in a lot of the smaller houses. And
Mhm.
I don't differentiate. I sing in opera houses. Full stop.
Yes,
Um
you are an opera
yes,
singer.
yeah, yes, I've sung at the Met. And it's great. You know what the Met is for me? The Met is the reason that I can sing in any other house I want to. That's what it was
Mhm,
for me.
mhm.
I loved singing there, and it was wonderful. But it enabled me to sing in smaller houses where there was work going on that I loved.
Yes. Oh, always say that. I very similarly to you am an American singer who sings
Yeah,
more in America all the time, with the occasional here and there. But I can tell you, I've had some of the most tremendous artistic experiences singing in the middle, as I call it.
that's right.
It changed me forever as an artist, and that's where I learned how to be an artist. That
Absolutely.
that not the other way around. Hmm.
Absolutely. And the thing is that everybody here, everybody who's chatting, everyone who's here right now, everyone who's in this business knows where the bulk of the quality work happens in this country. You all know where it is. And it's places where you don't expect it to be.
Hmm.
And the thing is the thing that's really wonderful, and what we have forgotten largely, people who have these huge careers in who start off now. People ask me to give them advice about their careers and what they should
Hmm.
do. But the thing is that nobody could do what I did, just like nobody could do what you do. You know what I mean? No, I had a very unusual path. I went from singing in an undergraduate school, not a conservatory, a state university, to singing at the Met. And I would not recommend that to anybody
Hmm.
because that is a scary, rough life. It is scary. And you give up a lot to do it. And,
Hmm.
I was very happy to go to Europe. I loved it. I love going to Paris. I love Paris for one reason and one reason only. I met my husband there. That's what
Yes,
I got
you're
out of Paris. I met my husband, and that's what it is.
that's enough.
And that's
Exactly.
all I needed because
Absolutely.
I loved singing in London. I absolutely loved it. But I had a contract in London that I had to give up because my mother was dying and I did not want to leave the country. And
Mhm,
so I gave up that contract and I've not been asked back. And sometimes that happens.
mhm.
You have to measure up what's important. I haven't
Absolutely.
sung in London in 10 years. If anyone's in London is listening, I would love to come back to London. But the thing is that
Yes.
I have not suffered because I have met and worked with some of the most extraordinary people. I have worked
Same.
with some of the most glorious artists who are slogging it out day in
Mm,
and day out. And then I've worked with people who, it seems like the sun shines out of their ass and they can't do anything wrong and they'll still work.
that's so
You know, that's the whole
right.
that's the
Yeah, they
whole
sit on
gamut.
their sunshiny ass right now at home like everybody else, but
Yeah, exactly. It's all moon now.
it's
Um,
all moon now,
it's all moon
baby.
now. But it is the most. It's the most. People ask me, "What's it like to be a singer? What it's like to be an opera singer?" It's great. It's great. It's wonderful. It's full of loving people. I mean, in general, the people in this business that you work with are wonderful.
Mhm.
You know, and
Yes.
but it is fraught with problems, and we all know what they are, and we can talk about that till the cows come home. The thing that's best about this industry is the music. That's it. The music, the music. That's the most glorious thing.
That's it. That's what keeps you going
Mm.
when you want to give up. I mean,
Yeah.
people are even afraid to even speak about that. You speak about like when you're like, you know what? I've had enough. I've had it, and then, but you don't give up. You keep going, or
Mm.
or the times where you feel like you are killing it, and you get a review or a house, somebody in the house doesn't,
Yep. Yep.
agree with that. Things that you have to eat constantly,
Yep.
but still bring out beauty and
Hmm.
perfect technique,
Yeah.
and all things, and
And the thing that's, and I've talked about this a lot publicly too, because I'm not ashamed about it. I suffered enormously in the beginning of my career from anxiety disorder from about the middle of my second or beginning of my second year in the young artist program. One night I just got smacked right in the face with an anxiety attack that I was sure I was dying. And
mm,
I remember I called up my friend Alan Smith, who I knew would be awake. It was 1 in the morning. So I called him because he was in Pasadena, and I said, Alan, there's something really wrong. I can't calm down. My heart's beating out of my chest. I'm just terribly worried, and I something's wrong. And he
mm,
said, hang up the phone, call up your teacher, go to the hospital. So I called my teacher, Pat Mislin. I called her up. To we
mm-hmm,
went to the emergency room, and I sat there all night long. And they told me there was nothing wrong with me. Everything was perfectly normal. My blood work, my EKG, everything was fine. They were going to send me home. And this doctor who was in charge that night said, I'd like to see her before she goes. And we sat and we talked. And he said, Stephanie, you're exhibiting the classic signs of an anxiety attack.
mm.
And I'm like, oh, what do I do about that?
Right, not
You
right
know?
now, right.
And I went to 3 different emergency rooms in as many days. I went the next night, I was in another emergency room, and then I went to a third one the next night.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
and I and I went without any help for a year. For a
Wow.
year.
Wow.
Nearly.
In a
Actually, yeah, nearly a
in a
year.
major
I
career.
didn't get any help. And I remember riding around in taxis going to the Met and be like, I can't make it. I'm not going to make it through this day. I'm not going to make it. I don't know,
Mm.
but I never let anybody at the Met knew. They never knew. It never
Wow.
came out in my performing ever. It never made
Mm.
me. One night I almost didn't go on as Berta, and when I say I almost didn't go on, I was like, just before I went on, I thought I've got to run away. I've got to go someplace else. But I went on
You went on.
and I did it and I finished it and I remember the next season that was when I was covering Horn, and I went
Mhm.
on every single night. Every night that show was on, I would go and see it, and I'd stand in the wings every single night because I thought
Mm.
I don't know how much longer this woman's going to be singing, and I'm going to see every single show. So
Yes.
I stood off stage and I watched and watched and watched. And one day before the show, I had a lesson. I went and sat on Pat's sofa and I just
Mhm.
cried nonstop. I couldn't stop crying. And she said, honey, I love you so much, but I can't help you.
Mm.
But I'm going to give you the number of somebody who can. And I called this woman up and she saved my life. Joan saved my life.
Mm.
I left a message on her machine. 5 minutes later, I'm wiping my eyes. 5 minutes later, the Met calls and said Marilyn Horne has canceled. You're going on. 5 minutes later. And I was like, Lord, if you're trying to tell me something, I can hear you. And I just knew it. I felt in my heart that God was saying to me, you're taking care of yourself. I will take care of you. Everything's going to be okay. And that was the
Absolutely.
beginning of everything for me.
Wow.
And my 7-year journey to learning how to deal with anxiety attacks.
Anxiety. It's like while you're in the midst of this high profile career.
Yeah.
I mean, we're for, now that everything is open now, and we say that the doors are open between the Me Too movement
Yeah.
and the Black Lives Matter
Hmm.
movement and all these open, we can now to start to really discuss and pull
Hmm.
up the roots of the issues and what's
Yeah.
going on. And I'm finding, and two of my friends in this business, Bernard Holcomb
Hmm.
and Traveen, I hear them talk about mental health a lot and self-care. And these are things that you could not talk about.
Mm-mm.
Like you could talk about having children
No.
15, 20 years ago as a woman. You couldn't talk about all the you wanting to be married and having a happy, healthy kind of relationship, but
Yeah.
mental health,
No.
you couldn't even talk about
You
that.
can't talk about anything about, I love you too, Weston, and you know it. You can't talk about anything that will expose the voice, right?
Mm, speak it.
Anything that people will perceive as something that might do something to your voice. That's the number one thing. Nobody gives a shit if you have any problems if you can still sing. It's the truth.
Hmm.
This industry is rife with people who have mental illness problems. I
Yeah.
am one of them. You know, I still have anxiety attacks. It still happens. I'd have them far fewer than I mean, I have them, like once in a very blue moon. But
Right.
when they happen, I know how to handle them, and I can do it without medication, which is great. And the most important thing that I've learned about it was that the thing that I love most about it is that now, when I am confronted by young singers who have the same issues,
Hmm.
I can talk to them about it. And I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to say, it's important to be able to share these things. Listen,
Yes.
there are tons of stuff that we don't talk about when it comes to singing. Tons of stuff. Physical issues that we don't want to talk about.
Hmm.
For me right now, it's menopause. Nobody wants to talk about
Yeah.
menopause and singing or perimenopause and singing. No one talked about that until now.
No.
Nobody wanted to talk about that. I hit perimenopause and lost the top 4 or 5 notes in my range.
Wow. They just talk about not having it, but they
It
don't
just
talk about.
it disappeared. It
Wow.
disappeared, but it just moved. It went lower. So now I have
Ah,
a C below middle C.
there you go.
It just moved.
It
But
just shifted.
nobody wants to talk about that. I am not less of a singer because I can't sing a high C anymore. There was only like 5 or 6 years out of my entire career I had a high C. Thank God that I had them at the moments that I needed them.
Yes.
But we don't want to talk about that. We don't want it. We want our singers to all be perfect. We want them all to be able to hit the notes at all the right times. It doesn't happen.
No, doesn't
I'm
happen.
sorry. It doesn't happen. One of the most amazing things I ever heard was Kathleen Battle. She came when I was at Tanglewood as a student, and she sat and she did a very, very candid Q&A with us. Just the singers and the coaches. That was it. You bet, Juliana. Thank you for writing some contralto music, my friend. I
Yes.
uh um she a singer asked her, how often do you feel like you're really singing at 100%? And she said, never. Never. She said, if I'm singing 80%, I feel like I've hit my goal.
Yes.
you know
And
the great
80%
paul
high.
the great Paul Plishka once said to me, I was getting ready to do a show, and I had a couple of high A's that I had to do, and I was singing them in my dressing room, just singing them again and again and again and again. And he and he came to me and he said, Stephanie, you have a finite number of those A's. Do not leave them in the dressing room.
There you go.
It's like,
Wisdom.
oh, Paul, thank you so much.
Thank you. That's a
You
good
know,
colleague.
that's a good colleague, and I've
Yes.
passed that on. I've passed that
Hmm.
information on. We do it
Hmm.
all the time. You bet, Jill. I take 62. Really the thing that needs to be 100% is not the voice. It's this and this. That has to be
Yeah.
100%.
All the
That's what
time.
you right. The voice is
Ex-
going to be what it is.
mm,
We work and we get our techniques together and we practice and we warm up. We get our voice where it is. But our voice is completely dependent upon how our body is at that particular time. So
at that
your chords don't, like my David Slavitt always said to me, Stephanie,
mm-hmm.
your chords don't get sick. Your body gets sick and your chords react. And sometimes
Mm,
there is nothing you can do about that. But this and this, you can do something about that.
absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. That could protect them and keep them healthy. This.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Talk about when you're not feeling well because no one ever talks about that part. Or the time that
Oh,
your voice
honey.
left. Yeah, talk about that.
I will. I did. I sang Azucena once at the Met,
Mhm.
and I had something like eight, maybe eight performances. I sang the first three and canceled. And what I didn't realize was that I was sick. I didn't realize that I was having post nasal drip. I didn't realize that my cords were getting swollen. If my voice felt real logy, and I thought it was just fatigue
Mhm.
and excitement because I was singing Azucena at the Met. I was just so excited,
Yes.
as
Of
anyone would
course.
be.
Right.
And the
Dream check.
third the third night of that show, I was in the middle of Condotta Lera in Ceppi. I
Mhm.
got to an F,
Mhm.
went up, and there was nothing. It just stopped. It stopped. I could not sing anything higher than a G. That was it. And I thought, okay, what are you going to do now? I'm in the middle of the aria. This is the aria that mezzo-sopranos are like. They wait their whole lives to sing this. I waited my whole life to sing this thing at the Met. I'd sung
Mm.
it, I'd sung it in other houses, and I just I debuted it in where did I debut that Azucena? I can't remember. Somebody be able to tell you, doesn't matter. But here I was singing. I had sung it several times before this, and I thought, there's nothing you can do right now except act the shit out of this. That's what you're going to do. You're going to use this language because I tell you, Nicola Luisotti taught me how to use language.
Mm.
And I just
Yes.
dug into those words, and I got that woman out as far as I could, and it was terrifying. And every single moment I had to sing the rest of that show like that.
Mm. That's a long
And
night.
it's a whole night. And I
Mhm.
went back into the dressing room and I thought, well, I don't have to cancel. I can sing it. I can sing it. I went back in, and in the dressing room, I was centered. I was fine. I sang scales. I got up there. It was okay. I felt good.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I would have canceled. One person came to see how I was. One. The conductor didn't call me. Nothing. Nothing. One person, Howard Watkins, the only person who showed any kind of concern for me on the music staff.
Mhm.
On the music staff. And he came into the room, he said, Stephanie, are you okay? What can I do to help you? How can I help you? He's the only one. I
Mm.
love Howard. I mean, if you don't know Howard Watkins, figure out a way to get to know him, because that is what
He's first.
not only a consummate musician, a genius pianist, fabulous coach, wonderful teacher. He's just a mensch. He's a great human being.
Exactly.
And I went
He
out,
really.
I did that show. I sang everything that was high down the octave. I acted like a bitch. I just got out there and did it. And then I took my bow afterwards, and a representative from administration came back and said, that was great. What a great show. And I just was like, Are you fucking serious? Are you serious? So I just went back to my room and I cried.
Yeah.
And, at that time, I spent a lot of time online reading things that people wrote, because I'm a singer, and that
Hmm.
my, it happens. We do it.
Yeah, that's what
If
we
we
do.
say
Yeah.
if we say we don't do it, we're lying. We do it.
Mhm.
We Google ourselves. And I'll never
Exactly.
forget, I read on a blog post, Stephanie Blythe should be on suicide watch tonight. Just let that land. Stephanie Blythe should be on suicide watch tonight. And I just thought, that has got to be the cruelest thing that anybody has ever written. At least one of the cruelest things. And it devastated me. And I had to cancel the rest of the shows because I couldn't sing it. I was sick. I went to see the doctor and said, "Yeah, your cords are swollen and you're going to need time for them to heal." So I said, "Okay. Yeah, I know, Christine, I shouldn't read them, but you do too.
She says
I
she
know I
does.
shouldn't read them, but we've been there. I don't do it
Yeah.
anymore, believe me.
And this
That
top is
particular one I
Asian
blocked, but
American. This
I
top is so she will ask me about the top.
yeah. So
Anyway.
yeah. So basically for years I thought I felt horrible about that. I felt horrible. I was embarrassed, but I knew that I had done the best job I could. And can I tell you something? Of all the things I've sung at the Met,
Hmm.
the thing I get the most fan mail about, the most comments, if somebody writes to me on Instagram or somebody, the thing that I get written to most about is that night, where people write and say, I that was the most amazing performance I've ever been to. That's the
Wow.
best thing I ever saw you do. It was amazing. You can't,
Uh-oh.
Christine, you can't, you and I have talked about this. You cannot guess what people are thinking about you.
Mm.
You just have to do your thing. You cannot think about what other people are thinking. And I mentioned to you earlier today when we were talking, the first time I did Carmen, I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Hmm.
And I called up John Kais one night, who was my very first Don Jose. And I said, "John, I'm so afraid I'm going to walk out on that stage and they're going to laugh at me." And because the very first show was a student matinee,
Hmm.
and I was terrified. And he said, "Stephanie, it's not your job to make that audience love you. It's your job to sing your best and to play that character. And if they're going to like you or love you, then they will. And if they don't, that's that's on them. Not
That's on
everybody is
them.
going to like what you do."
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and that's one of the hard, as a performer, that's a really hard thing to take on board,
Certainly
because
is.
you
Because we live for that. That's why we breathe. It's a part of breathing.
yeah,
Like me.
exactly. But it's not for me. Yes, the adulation is part of the
Mm.
it's part of the payoff. But the
Hmm.
thing is that you want to feel like you're part of a community when you go out in the
Mm.
audience, when you go out and you sing for the audience. You want to feel like you're making them a part of what you're doing and that you're a part of them.
Yes.
And so you feel like, well, if they don't like me, if they don't like what I'm doing, then they hate me, how am I going to do this? It
Right.
didn't
And
matter.
get another chance to do it,
That's
you
right.
know?
And the thing is, you no one ever laughed at me singing Carmen. No one laughed.
Mm.
Maybe I was the biggest Carmen ever. Size wise, you know,
Right.
but no one ever laughed at me. And if they did, fuck them. I don't care. I
Right.
got to
Exactly.
sing Carmen. I don't care what you think. I'm singing Carmen.
Exactly.
I'm singing
Dream
Delilah.
shot.
I don't care if you think I'm too fat.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, talk about the about weight because that's I mean as me being always struggling with my weight. And then I go back and I look at pictures of myself and I'm like, you were crazy. You were crazy. You were so. unhappy, and you look great, but I mean, I know that there have been times that I haven't gotten opportunities to sing things. I know there's been times where when at the time that I sang Traviata, and was smaller for my size but still bigger than the normal women. But talk about the weight and talk about
This
what that
the
what,
smallest the smallest I've been as a singer, size wise, was when I did Rake's Progress. That was the thinnest I've been.
hmm
And I cannot tell you how many people asked me if I had cancer. They asked if I was sick, if I was going through some sort of therapy. I had people who came up to me and said, "You look great. Don't lose any more. You'll lose your weight. You'll lose your voice, rather."
hmm
I mean, a lot of people said that to me. I had a person come up to me and say, Stephanie, we're so proud of you. We're so proud of you, and how well you're singing and how great you look. Now, don't be like XYZ and put it all back on."
mm,
Referring to one of my colleagues who had gained weight back. And
right.
I, and the thing is that you want to say, I don't hate the person I was heavier. You're talking about somebody that I love.
Mm,
I don't hate that person. I don't hate myself. And there'll be plenty, and I'm sure then there are plenty of people who are like, well, she's really unhealthy and she's this and she's that. You know what? I am what I am. My doctors and I know exactly what I am.
mhm.
My family, I know exactly. I do not look in the mirror. And my teacher used to say that. My teacher said that once to somebody working at the Met, who said, I have a problem. I have all these big singers. And God, I am talking out of school right now. I should not be drinking this, but I'm going to have a little more.
Well, go ahead. Let me a little
Oh,
sip
honey,
break.
it's so long ago now. It's so long ago. And I
Hmm
remember, and Pat said to her, "Do you think they don't know? You think Stephanie looks in the mirror in the morning and thinks, oh, how thin I am?
hmm
You know, I
Right.
am who I am." And I once had somebody say to me, a big someone in the administration of a house with that will remain nameless, said to me, "You're so talented, it's terrifying." Or no, she didn't say terrifying. It was something like, "You're so talented at something." It was a nice word. It's
Right.
scary. That's what it was. Sort of
Okay.
terrifying. But you will never sing the roles that you should because you're too fat. You'll never sing Carmen and you'll never sing Delilah. And that's just a shame. And I remember very clearly saying, "You know what? I completely understand where you're coming from." I had asked the opinion. I had asked for this was after an audition. I had
Mhm.
asked for the opinion and I got it. And I'll tell you what I got out of that conversation. If you don't want to know what somebody thinks, don't ask. Because there'll be plenty of people who will offer their opinion without you
Yes.
asking. And I just was like, you know, I said, "I completely appreciate where you're coming from, but you have to realize that if you like this instrument, you have to accept the body it comes in, because
hmm
this voice is intricately tied into the body where it exists."
Yes. Absolutely. So what do you that's so true. And I always feel like when I'm beating up on myself, I don't sing my best. When I'm being the most judgmental about my body, I'm not able
Mhm.
to express and do my job, as a singing actress, as an artist. But
Yep.
I found myself, yeah, I did a master class yesterday online for a friend of mine who's a voice teacher, and we were talking about career, talking about these things. And I talked about weight, and I talked about, well, it was more about how to prepare for the career, and to also focus on the things that you can control.
Right.
You can control what you think, and how, your mind,
Yeah.
your voice, I'm sorry, your voice, and
Mhm.
your body, what you look like. And then I was like, well, there's a times where if I had been 50 pounds lighter, and then I had to stop myself because I'm speaking to young
Mhm.
singers,
Mhm.
to say, I don't know if this asshole would have let me sing this role if I was 50 pounds. Like, what the
Mhm.
hell am I saying to these kids? Just be good to yourself, is what I said to them,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I
And
just had to catch myself.
you know, part of the issue is, you're so cute. Looking at my husband, he's so darling. Um,
Hey, husband.
he's just smiling at me. Um, I've said to kids, so many kids who've come to me and said, "Can you have a career and be heavy?" I'll tell you something. For a while, I was one of the last red hot mamas. There was a good 10 years in there where everybody was losing weight, and there were very few of us. And it's changed. It's swung back now. There are a lot more larger, lovelier, voluptuous, full-figured mamas out there,
Surely.
which is lovely. Um, but I'd say, you can be, absolutely. You can be fat, and you can have a great career. You just got to be better than everybody else.
Mm,
And that's the truth. The voice wins out every time. I'm sorry, Pavarotti. Perfect example. He's the textbook example.
mm.
Boom, that's it.
There you go.
Sorry.
Who's thinking about that?
Undeniable.
Yes.
Undeniable. And that was
Undeniable.
undeniable before he had a machine working behind him. Yes,
Hmm.
after a while he had the machine, and the machine was fabulous.
Yes.
But he had to get there first. He had to get there
Absolutely.
first. And so,
Absolutely.
you know, it's not easy. But I will tell you that I have I the same person who said this to me, that I would never sing Carmen and Delilah or anything. Years later, I was talking with this person who said to me, "I'm so proud of you because you have your career on your terms.
Mm.
And you just that's what you have to do. You have to live in your terms, because I tell you what, this industry, if you I also often tell young singers, the first thing you have to know before you become an opera singer or any kind of performer is know yourself, know who you are, because there is a whole line of people who cannot wait to tell you who you are. They cannot
Mm.
wait to tell you, this is exactly who you are, and this is what you should be singing, and this is your Fach. Fuck Fach.
Yes. Yes. Tell the people.
Fach is not for us. It is
Mm-mm.
not for us. It is for them. It is for the other. It's for them. It's so they know how to put you in a box.
Hmm.
It's so that they can understand, like you and I have talked before. It's
Hmm.
all about the idea of comparison and contrast. It's
Yes.
I can only understand you if I compare you to this. And then I can
Mm.
say, well, she's not this, or she's just like this. No, no,
Right.
no. Just she is this. They are this. He is this.
But they have to know what they're looking at and listening to
Absolutely.
first.
But
They have
that's
to.
but that kind of thinking is simply
Mhm.
born of no imagination, no creativity. The
Yeah.
imaginative mind can see anything. The
Mm.
imaginative mind can break any barrier.
And yes.
And the reason that we have issues like Black Lives Matter is because
Mhm.
people are having to break the box. They have to break the box. Don't let them put you in a box. I don't care for
Right.
whatever it is. You want to be a performer, you want to be something, be different. Be different. Be remembered because of who you are. Be creative. Be more creative than they are. Because I promise you, there will be tons and tons of different gradations in career. Tons. But to be an artist is to be a creator.
Yes.
And when we squelch that, when we sit on that, that's when we're unhappy. That's when
Unhappy.
we that's when we when we're
Miserable.
not feeding that creative mind, that creative heart. That's when all the angst happens. That's when the anxiety happens.
Absolutely. And I think you've done such an amazing job with having this like multi-tier career in a way. You've had the traditional,
Right?
big American career, and then you have this incredible art song career that is tremendous. And then you have this other tier of like you created these characters and these projects for yourself. And what you have in your pinky, every singer needs in their life right now for just simply survival. Listen, I've known you for a long time. I've always been a gigantic fan. I've listened to all of your recordings and all of your
You were
interviews.
so sweet.
No, I love
Thank
you and you know that. And I can't wait till we get to do some stuff together. But we're
Well,
gonna
we
talk.
will. You know
I
it.
know we will.
The plans are coming together.
Yes, ma'am.
You
The
know, the
plans are
thing
coming together.
is the first thing I will say is number one is that the reason I've been able to do what I do now is because what I did before. It's because
Mm-hmm.
I went out and I worked hard and I did the young, this young artist career, and I sang all these things at the Met, and I gained a certain amount of cachet in the business, and so now I'm cashing in on that. And I've worked, and is none of the work that I do outside of opera is
Mm-hmm.
based on any on my solely my work. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I My art song career, my recital career comes directly from the work that I did at Tanglewood as a young artist, where I met Alan Lewis Smith, who changed my life, who I mean, Alan is I can't say there aren't enough words in the dictionary to describe how much I love this man, because he made me see music in a whole new way. He's the first person to introduce me to Tin Pan Alley. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he's written some of the most glorious music I've ever sung for me. Uh, he's the first person to ask me to kind of stretch my imagination, and we did that together. We kind of grew in that together. I would never have had a recital career had it not been for Warren Jones, who's my, who's been my number one collaborator and was my number one collaborator for almost 25 years. And I met him at Tanglewood. And I
Mm-hmm.
promise you, this guy, Warren, when I first met Warren, he was coaching and I didn't utter a peep the entire time he spoke. If he asked us to answer a question, I wouldn't say anything. I was so terrified to say something stupid that I
Right.
just didn't speak. And any one of you who knows, that is great. It's crazy. Nobody can stop this gob from moving except Warren Jones.
And I,
And this
well, I
glass
know
of
from our
wine.
2.5 hour conversations we always have. So we had last time. So
I mean, that man, I would say the biggest musical mentors that I've had are
mm-hmm.
and Warren and Alan and Craig Terry.
Craig,
Three
yes.
pianists. Three pianists
Mm-hmm.
who have meant more to me, who've taught me more about music. Um, Pat Mislin, who taught me how to sing,
Mm-hmm.
uh, with an assist from Maggie Lattimore, who was my first real voice teacher,
Yes, we love
who taught
Maggie.
me how
We
to
love
sing a scale. I would never have learned how to sing a scale if it hadn't been for her.
really.
Yep, absolutely. And I studied with Pat because of Maggie.
Right.
Um, and Pat absolutely changed my life. And the three pianists, these three pianists have affected me in ways like I can't possibly explain. Warren, when I first started, I couldn't believe it when he came to the Met. I had just joined the Young Artist program, and we were working with him for a couple of weeks, and I had just been asked to do a recital at Walter Reed Theater,
Mm-hmm.
and I just was like, I'm going to ask Warren Jones to play. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to see if he'll do it. And God bless him, he said yes. And I tell you, that man and I have made more music together. He taught
Mm,
me just about every big role I ever learned. Warren Jones taught me how to sing it. And
really?
yep, he sure did.
Wow.
He
I did
sure
not know
did.
that.
He sure
Mm,
did. And I'll never forget when I sang Malcolm in Donna del Lago with
mm-hmm.
the Opera Orchestra of New York with Eve
Mm-hmm.
Queller. Uh, I will never forget that experience. And working on Malcolm with him, a role that I sang once, I sang it once. That concert. And one of the most proud moments of my life was was seeing Warren Jones react to me singing that and seeing him proud of me and
Yeah.
knowing he was proud of me. That was one of the most wonderful moments I've ever had. That to feel that work pay off and for him to be there witnessing it was just
Mm.
amazing, amazing.
It was,
I mean, I
yeah.
got the opportunity to sing some great music, great one-offs with Eve Queller. I
Hmm.
did Donna Delago with Ruth Ann Swenson. I did
Oh,
Lucrezia Borgia with Renee,
yes, of course.
and I got to sing Mignon.
And no one does that opera.
No
You
one.
got to.
And Eve had said to me, she's like, I want to do an opera of your choice. What do you want to sing? I said, I want to sing Mignon, please. Can I please sing it? No one will ever do it for me. I mean, the whole name. I mean, everything. I mean, it's all about being small. She's
Yes,
tiny,
she's
and
tiny,
here I
right?
come out. I'm like, mm-hmm.
Here you go,
Here
people.
you go.
There,
And
take it all in, baby.
I was so happy to have that experience. So
Hmm.
unbelievably happy. It was amazing. It was really amazing. But it's not, anyway.
Anyway, but creating your own, you know, projects, which is something that I always asked, like Devon Tynes last week and
Mm-hmm.
Julie, guys who are just so incredible. ARC, Rolf Costanzo, and all these
Yeah.
young. When I was coming through, we weren't encouraged to do that, especially if you had, I remember singing for a particular art song
Mm-hmm.
organization saying, "Oh, you're an opera singer.
Yeah.
You just do opera," and I'm like, "What?" And so I kind of got pushed into this thing. And you
Mm-hmm.
and I have talked, and you have encouraged me for years.
Get out of the
This
box.
has encouraged me for you have to do your thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so talk about creating the drag show and Kate
Oh.
Smith. I want to hear about Kate Smith. You have to tell the people about
Okay,
Kate Smith.
so the drag show came from I was doing Mahler 3 with the Philadelphia Orchestra. And opening
Hmm.
night, my friend Dito Van Rigersberg, who was not my friend at the time, Dito, whose alter ego is a phenomenal artist named Martha Graham Cracker, um, is the son of Stephanie and Fernando Van Rigersberg, who were my host family when I was at Wolf Trap. I lived
Uh-huh.
with them for 2 summers and have maintained a relationship with them over the years. They're like family to me. I had never met Dito, but I had fallen in love with Martha Graham Cracker online. I mean, just watching snippets from the shows was just it was heaven, heaven. If you want to have a good time, go watch Martha Graham Cracker on YouTube, please. I beg you. And so, I had given Dito a couple of tickets to see this Mahler 8, and um, Dito brought along John Jarbo, who was the director of the Bearded Ladies Cabaret in Philadelphia, and who had just
Hmm.
done a show with Philadelphia Opera about Andy Warhol. And so there
Hmm.
I was standing with David Devan, the general director of the company, and Dito and John, and I'm falling madly in love with both Dito and John immediately. And I said to David Devan, I have a dream. I would like to do a show to raise money for Philadelphia Opera with Martha Graham Cracker. Can you make that happen? And a year to almost to that date, we did it. And
Wow.
working with John Jarbo and Dito and Daniel Kazemi, our music director, and
Yes.
Machine Dazzle, our designer, and our incredible band, was one of the most extraordinary experiences I've ever had because I learned for the first time about devised theater. And
Wow.
basically, we worked for several weeks. We met first on the phone, all of us together, and talked about what we wanted to do, and talked about what do we want to say, and what are our values. What do we want? What are
Hmm.
the values that we are going to espouse with this piece? Can you imagine sitting down in an opera And everybody's sitting around talking about, okay, now what are the values? What values do we really want to think about while we're performing? Uh, Never. And we wrote this
Nope.
piece. We chose music and we decided that Martha was madly in love with this opera singer, Blithely Oratonio, a dramatic
Hmm.
tenor that Martha had just seen singing Tancredi at Philadelphia Opera. And of course, I had just finished singing Tancredi. And but Martha didn't know me, and I fell in love with Martha because I saw her in a Starbucks,
Hmm.
and then I
Hmm.
went onto YouTube and listened to her singing. And it's about these two people, an opera singer and a cabaret artist, who are separated by the fourth wall and can't be together. And we sing all night. We do these numbers that are trying to get us together, but it doesn't work until we realize that the audience is what's going to break the fourth wall. And we
Hmm.
realize we have to move the audience. The audience must be moved, and they all move out of the way. And in this particular iteration of the piece, there's a stage out in the audience, and the stage that I was on, and our I had four mermaids that were backing me up, and the
Hmm.
mermaids went out into the audience and built a catwalk in between the two stages, and we were brought together singing a mashup of "You'll Never Walk Alone," "Where'er You Walk," and "Tonight," and
Why?
from West Side Story.
Right,
And
right.
it was the most amazing experience. And I tell you something, when these two characters met, it was magical. It was just magical. And John
Mhm.
helped me to find helped me to find a character that's been sitting squarely in my heart my whole life. This man who, um, this I've said in interviews before. Whenever I was a kid, when my sister and I played Bionic Woman and Bionic Man, I was Steve Austin. There's
Ah,
always been a part of me that has had this guy sitting there that had something to say. And
yes.
I am not I'm a cis, you know, straight woman,
Mhm.
but I
Mhm.
recognize that there's much more to me than that. And this person who's been dying to sing, you know, who's been dying to sing Recondita Armonia and Celeste Aida and all of those things he's still very much in there. And now I have a place to do it. I do it.
Oh,
And it's not a joke. When I
yeah,
sing this
no.
music, it's
No.
not a joke.
No.
And my value when I talk when there's always the number one value that I when we talk about what's the values for this show is
Mhm.
always honor the form first. Honor it first. If you're going to send something up, you got to sing it well, you know?
Yes.
And
Mhm.
then later on, the next year, we presented uh, two prequels to that show. So we did a
Mhm.
prequel called Blithely After Hours, which was all about which was all about how Blithely came to be. I had a
Yes.
fantastic cameo by the great Brenda Ray, who came out and did the best Tori Amos impression I've ever heard in my life.
Go
We sang a
Brenda.
mashup of what was it? Oh, we sang an ABBA Journey mashup that was just to die for.
Oh.
And on that show was when I started doing we started doing our arrangement of Send in the Clowns and Vesti la Juba, which is
Mhm.
probably my favorite thing to sing in the whole world.
Oh, I have to see that. I have
Oh,
to see.
that's great. And then Martha got to do a solo show called Foray Play, which was fabulous. And that had
Oh.
a cameo by the great Patricia Rissette. And then we did our show, Dido and Aeneas, Two Queens, One Night, which was the original show that we did. And
Yes,
since
that's
then,
correct.
I was very, very happy to, we now have a solo show that I actually, my drag character has had a Lincoln
Mhm.
Center debut.
Wow.
So I first did it with Resonant Bodies in Brooklyn
Mm-hmm.
under the
Mm-hmm.
auspices of that fabulous Lucy DeGray and their wonderful presentation group. They to do the, they've done some of the most amazing music and performing I've ever seen.
Who's this, Steph?
Lucy,
Who's this again?
Lucy DeGray and Resonant Bodies.
Okay, I don't know them.
They're wonderful.
Yeah.
And Lucy asked me if I could do a 30-minute version of my show, and I said yes. So John and I put
Mm-hmm.
together a 30-minute version. Then we did a 45-minute version um for late night snacks, which was a summer presentation they did with Philly Fringe Arts.
Okay.
That was
Mm-hmm.
last year that we did that. We did 2 nights, 45 minutes, and then all of a sudden I was approached by American Songbook. And
Mm.
Charles Kermelli came to me and said, we would love you to do the show for American Songbook. And are you kidding?
Hello.
Hello? So we actually got a live stream of a show that we put together called Stephanie Blythe is Blithely Oratonio, Blithely Ever After.
I love it.
And
Look at that.
we had the most amazing. At some point I'm really hoping they'll show it again. But we
Yeah.
had,
Mm-hmm.
our amazing band, Drew Woodkey at the piano, Mike Ian, Andrew Nelson, Jimmy Coleman
Mm-hmm.
on drums. I mean, just an
Mm-hmm.
amazing group of people. And then two of my singers at Bard were also on the show with me.
Yes.
Um, Haley
Oh, that's good.
McAvoy and Margaret Tig. Pardon?
No, that's great. No, you brought your students.
They were fabulous. And we got to
Yeah.
do a number that I have always dreamed of singing in public, and I finally got a chance to do it. It's called Gentle Stranger. It's by the Captain and Tennille. Tony Tennille wrote it. It's on the B side of Love Will Keep Us Together. And it's about a
Okay.
one night stand. And
Oh.
I sang it as a love note to Blithely Oratonio from Stephanie Blythe. So I came out of character, read a love note
Mm-hmm.
as Stephanie to Blithely, sang it as Stephanie to Blithely, and then stepped back into Blithely. It was freaking crazy. I loved
Oh
it.
my gosh. But that you thought all of that up. Oh, Reggie
Well,
Smith said
I
about Johnny
worked
speaking.
I worked on that for, John Jarbo is a total and utter genius. And what in the work that I have been able to do with John, and what John has done to kind of release something in me
Mm-hmm.
as a maker has been great.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, when we did our opera at Bard this year, um,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to do a scenes program, so because I just don't like scenes programs that much. And I
Mm-hmm.
have 14 singers in that program, and I wanted them all to have a role. So we did
Mm-hmm.
devised opera. And basically what we did, we had John come in for a 3-day workshop where we all just worked and we improvised with this one notion, and that is that 14 opera characters are going to a funeral for opera, and that's why they're all there. And I said to the singers, I want you to choose 5 operas. So they chose, as a group, as a committee, they chose
Uh-huh.
Carmen, Bohème, Giovanni, Ariadne of Naxos, and the Tenderland. And then I told them they could choose any aria, regardless
Mm-hmm.
of gender or voice type, and they could choose any role, regardless of gender or voice type.
Mm-hmm.
And we created a show. They created a show. I added a few ensembles. They wrote all the
Mm-hmm.
dialogue together. It was completely done by committee. Every
Wow.
single person putting something in. And essentially what started out as a group of people, a group of singers or a group of characters who were either for or against opera, ended up
Mm-hmm.
becoming, at the end of the first act, we decided that opera had left a will. And the will basically was telling them they could be self-determined characters. They could be who they wanted to be. So we had a Mercedes sung by
Mm-hmm.
Chuan Yun-yu, who is a glorious Chinese countertenor, who sang the role of Mercedes, but ended up singing habanera towards the end of the opera.
Wow.
And it was amazing. we had Harlequin and the composer get together, and they sang La ci darem la mano, and then ran back to the back of the stage and jumped into the coffin and started making out.
Ah,
It was
but
it
that's what
was
keeps people
heaven.
interested.
It was heaven. And they all we had confrontations with Giovanni and
Yeah.
with Selena. We had um, um, Brad Testerman, who's this magnificent second year baritone. Brad wanted to
Hmm.
sing Donna Elvira, and so they sang Mi Tradi
Hmm.
down a third, and it was glorious. And
Yes.
after expressing all of this angst and all of this anger and confusion, and it was we had Serbinetta singing to singing her aria to Elvira. I mean, who better to sing that aria to?
Yes.
So it was
Yes.
it was
Exactly.
all sorts of different. We my our wonderful contralto Pauline Tan wanted to play the Commendatore, but sang Vecchia Zimara at the end of the first
Oh.
act. So
Mm.
give the thing that was given away was this will, which
This will.
went back into the coffin. And then at the very end of this piece, the composer, who now understands everything,
Hmm.
reaches into the coffin, takes out the will, and then breaks it up. They all take a piece of it and plant it into the coffin, which has now become a planter. They put it into the coffin. So now each of them are there. It's the germination of something brand new.
Mm.
And we did all of this with four panels and a tree and a window and projections and fabulous costumes, and the most important ingredient, unbelievable singing and creative minds. And the piece worked like gangbusters because they owned it. They owned it. They wrote that dialogue, they created those characters. It was theirs. And when artists have skin in the game, when artists own what they're doing, when they're allowed, how many times have any of you been in a piece and you're still getting notes 10 weeks later, because they never let it go. They never let you have it. They never let you have the character. Finally, let me have it. These students owned this piece from day one. They created it. And it was something. I I I wish you could all have been there. I wish you could have seen how beautiful it was to see these glorious, wonderful, insightful, imaginative, generous human beings who worked together. Can you imagine 14 artists writing a piece
Mm.
together?
No.
That was something. That was something. I'd pay big bucks to see that. I'd pay
Mm.
big bucks to see any company do that. I don't know of any place that's ever done that before. And I couldn't be more proud of Bard. And I couldn't be more proud of those fabulous singers. We had the very beginning of the piece, they all were entering. I'm sorry, I'm getting very verklempt about it. But they
No,
were,
but girl, I'm over here trying to control myself, girl. No,
they,
do it.
at the very beginning of the show, they entered in all sorts of different places in the theater. So they entered
Uh-huh.
from the side, from the back, from the audience, and they all met one another, and we knew who
Hmm.
they were because they wrote in the guest book, and then it appeared on the wall, their character, as if they'd signed
Hmm.
it, right? And the
Yes.
very first thing they sang was a chorale. And
Mm.
one day in rehearsal, I had said, wouldn't it be interesting to have somebody write a chorale for us? And so one of our piano fellows, who is a total and utter genius, and you will be hearing his name if you don't know it, you will be hearing it, Ryan McAvoy McCullough. Ryan McCullough is one of the
Hmm.
most amazing musicians I've ever met. And he's married
Right.
to Lucy Fitzgibbon, who is the other amazing musician. Lucy is one of the most brilliant sopranos, brilliant minds I've ever encountered. And so
Hmm.
Ryan came into rehearsal, and he had each one of the characters give three words or phrases that they felt really said something about their character. And he took that and he turned it into a chorale.
Mm.
And the name of the chorale is the um, is the name of the opera, which is Rest in Pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so we have, not only do we have this great devised program, but we had a debut. We had a musical debut in that, and it was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And it was completely a cappella. They just layered one on top of the other, and
Mm-hmm.
then ended in the key of Si mi chiamano Mimi, and Mimi got up and started her aria, singing it to the coffin.
Oh. Oh my
So
gosh.
all of that happened because of this
Uh-huh.
work that I did with John Jarborough and the Bearded Ladies Cabaret. So the reason I get excited about it is because this is where opera needs to go.
Yes.
I'm not saying that
Yes.
every company needs to do devised theater. This piece went beyond pastiche because the
Mm-hmm.
artists wrote the connective dialogue. They didn't hire a writer, they did it.
They did it.
And the thing is that this, what it is when singers are passionate about a project because they feel part ownership of it, they sing
Mm-hmm.
better. You can understand their words better because they have
Yes.
there's something that is, um, it's like when you any kind of program that you devise,
Mm-hmm.
if you're the passion that's led it, it's just gonna leap off the stage.
Yes. Absolutely. Because you love everything you're creating. You love everything you're putting. I'm doing that right now with a program, and I'm just like, oh, every poem I find, every piece of music that I try to, the connective tissue, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, yes, and I'm learning to be more comfortable with that. But within the comfort of it, I'm
Mm-hmm.
finding it. It's like my baby that I'm birthing.
That's right.
You know?
And don't, but the thing is that what's in that is you.
Mhm.
When we allow that to happen, we become more than vessels. You know, as
Mm.
singers, we're vessels, right?
Yes.
But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
when you are allow a part of yourself to be in that, when you give a piece of yourself to be in that work, then
Yeah.
the audience, all of a sudden, the audience finds themselves in it. It's not about, you know what I mean?
Mm.
It's not about
Mhm.
me. It's about them.
It's about
And
them.
that's what is so wonderful when you allow that bit of, I mean, for me, that's the difference between a great between somebody who really presents a great recital that's just really
Yeah.
put together and, hot in that way, and someone who allows a little bit of the vulnerability and humanity of their own heart into it, so that
Mhm.
and when that happens, it won't be 100% vocally. It won't.
Mm-mm.
But for
It's not.
me,
Mhm.
right? For me, the color and the beauty is in the thing that's not perfect, because I'm
Mhm.
not perfect.
Right.
You know, I was born that
Right.
way. We are born imperfect, and
Mm.
so it's a beautiful thing to incorporate.
Yes. And Reggie Smith is gonna kill me if I don't ask you this about Skiki.
Yeah.
Because he asked, I see you, Reggie. You owe me a bottle of wine. I'm kidding. Not really.
So we're talking about what's going to happen in San Diego.
Yeah, Skiki.
So I was judging the Dallas vocal competition last year, or whenever it was. I can't remember anything anymore. I don't know when anything happened. I think it was last year.
Every
And
day is yesterday.
and it's
Tomorrow,
right.
yesterday.
I mean, the last 3 months feel like a millennia. So um,
Right.
we I was sitting with Dominic Domingo, and he and I were talking, and of course, I had just done Skiki at the Met with his grandfather,
Hmm.
and I said, I've always wanted to sing Skiki, and he and I were talking about doing this piece, and me singing it as the mother, and us doing it as Johnny Skiki. That's right, you sure did. Just talking to Reg. And we were talking about Johnny Skiki, um, and Dominic thought this was really interesting. And then I started thinking about it more, and I started singing it. And I thought,
Mm-hmm.
singing this down the octave in my menopause range
Mm-hmm.
would be very interesting, and it would be really interesting for me as a character study to do this role as a man.
Mm-hmm.
And our director Paul Curran agreed, and our conductor Eva Bell also agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go next year, God willing. Lord, please let
Please
this
wear the
happen.
mask. Oh,
Father in
wear these
heaven,
masks.
please let it happen.
Yes.
Um, I'm going to go and sing the Principessa in Suor Angelica, and then go
Oh,
change and sing Skiki.
that is so hot. I love that.
So, you know, I'm
You
sure the
are, of
comments will be through the roof.
course,
But the thing
of
is that
course.
I have my very first value is always honor the form. I want to honor the amazing artists that I have performed with doing this show. I want to
Mm-hmm.
honor Corbelli. I want to be like him. And this is a great character role, and I want to play this character because I really like him. I like the fact that he's the full um he's the full spectrum of a character. He's a
Yes.
loving father, but he's also an asshole. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to play that. And so I'm going to do it.
You do it,
And
girl.
I just, I'm sure that not everyone is going to dig this idea, and I appreciate that. I totally get it.
They're
And
curious.
pardon,
They're curious.
but they'll be curious. And you
Mm-hmm.
know what? This is going to happen, Alexander. This is going to happen in San Diego in February.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if it, God willing, please, but it's just everybody, two or more. Whenever there's two or more, let's all just say it, Lord, please let us all have work in February. Let us
Please let us
all
all.
have work in February.
Yes, yes,
January,
please.
if possible, Lord. Um,
But February, definitely.
yeah, but February definitely. And I really, I'm happy. And
Hmm.
someday maybe I'll convince someone to let me do Cavaradossi, which is the role I've always wanted to sing.
What?
And maybe you'll be my Tosca.
Sign me up. I already got my pen ready for the concert, baby.
Would that be fabulous? We would have such a
That
good
would be-
time. You know?
Sign me up.
Vittoria! Right? Oh,
Yes,
fabulous.
ma'am.
Oh, it would be so great.
It's one of
We
those.
have so
That's the moment. Oh my gosh!
I would
Wow.
have we would have such a good time. But it's I think that one of the things we have to think about is this industry has got to change. And you and
Hmm.
I have talked about this many times, and there's so many people who are writing notes here right now. I hear you. I have been watching these fantastic conversations. I have been watching these panels, and I have been pissed off that I don't see more people in administration on these watching these panels. Where are they? They need to be there, friends. We need to send these out. Because for the first time in history, do you recognize for the fact that the very, very first time in history, artists are saying something? They're speaking up. They're not just waiting for someone to call them and say, hey, we've got this great contract for you. Because
You
that's not
can't.
the way it's going to be,
No.
you know?
No. You can't. Mm-mm.
So we need to,
I.
yeah,
No, I encourage. I welcome and encourage those conversations. Listen to the shows, listen to the singers, the artists. Call us up.
yep.
Don't be afraid. I always hate to that's the one part about this industry that it always bugs me. Even when you've got the job, these people are afraid to even talk to you. How often have I walked in a hallway and the general director, artistic administrator won't even look me in the eye, won't even
Hmm.
say anything And you won't
Mm-hmm.
even say, and
Mm.
I know you see me.
Honey,
But
I once had an administrator walk up to me and ask me how I was doing. I began
uh,
to speak and tell them how I was doing. I watched them look around to see who was more important in the room, and then they took off. And I followed them and kept talking. I just kept talking. You can
good
do
for
your
you.
walk away if you want. I'm still going. You asked me what I was doing. How I'm going to tell you, and you are not going to walk away from me.
No,
And the
no
thing
more.
is that I don't. I have been blessed. I have been blessed. I have worked with Spate Jenkins. I've
Hmm.
worked with somebody who knows. And Spate made mistakes, but everybody does. When you
Yeah.
run a company that long, you know, but
Yeah, you're gonna take
that
L's.
man loved singers, and the number one thing he said, if when birds are happy, they sing. That's what he
Mm,
said. That was his big thing. When
wow.
birds are happy, they sing. And I've worked with, fabulous people, fabulous general directors, fabulous
Hmm.
artistic directors, brilliant people, really wonderful, but
Hmm.
you do you have to make yourself known. You have to speak
Hmm.
up for yourself. And
Yes.
I mean, I remember once the great Peter Hemmings, who was running LA Opera when I made my debut there. In fact, the only time I've ever sung in LA Opera, I was doing a Falstaff. It's just been a very
Mm-hmm.
important show in my life. I met my husband on a Falstaff too, amazingly. But
Can we
I
do that together too?
what baby?
Can
Absolutely.
we do that? Yes. See, June agrees. June agrees.
Oh yeah. And so I remember one day Peter came up to me. He'd been watching rehearsal. He said, Stephanie, when I hear you sing this role, you make me think of the great Fedora Barbieri.
Oh,
And I
whoa.
said, Mr. Hemmings, thank you so much. It's a lovely compliment. Now, what do I have to do to make you think the next, to make you think about the great Stephanie Blythe when you hear when you hear Damn Quickly? What do I need to
Right.
do? You know, I need,
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that it's tough when you work in this,
Yeah.
when you work in this comparison contrast. And
Yeah.
that's an awfully good compliment.
It
And I
is,
thanked him
but
for it.
yeah.
I thanked him for it. But it is, it's a very, very difficult life. And it's too short to let people push you around. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying. And in this new normal, I mean, I'm finding myself when I was reading that New York Times article
Mm,
that came today, and I was reading what Josh wrote about what I said, and I was like, "Ooh, girl, you're a different person than you were a year ago."
hmm
Listen, this show is me, at the courage that I have, the confidence that I have in my own abilities, and I haven't even sung that much this year. You know
hmm
what I mean? Like
hmm
I am a different person. I'm a different artist. I'm a different everything because of this experience. And I'm not going to let people push me around. I'm not going to let people tell me who I am. I know who I am.
hmm
And you are going to either you like it or not.
Yeah.
Like, I really feel like this next phase for me is extremely, it's who I am. It's who I'm supposed to always be.
But I think one of the things that's been born of this is, singers very much, all performers, we identify ourselves by what we do on stage. I'm a
Hmm.
singer, you know. I
Hmm.
mean, honestly, I prefer to call myself an entertainer
Hmm.
more than anything now. But I'm a singer. That's what I do, and I haven't been able to sing for a long time now, and I won't be able to sing for a while. Come on, baby. Come on, Hercules. Hercules wants to get on the sofa, so we're gonna have to let
Come
him get up.
on,
Come on, big boy.
come on, Convos,
Come
baby.
on, Herky. Come on. Anyway, he's having a rough time. Up. Come on.
God,
Come on. Do it. No? Okay. He's just cute.
it's okay.
Um,
He wants his own time on the show. It's
he wants
okay.
his own. So anyway, um, I what was I saying before Hercules? Oh, so we identify who we are by what we do. Well,
Mhm.
we've just been going through this long time now where we can't do what we do. And so for a large part of this time, it's like, well, who am I? If I'm not a singer, then what am
Mm.
I? Well,
Well,
we're any number of things. We're writers, we're creators, we're bakers, we're wives and husbands and children, we're brothers and sisters, we are protesters. We are a number of any number of amazing things. And I think
yeah.
that is why when we come out of this, people are going to find very different performers than the ones they left. First of all, they're going to
Mm.
find rested voices. Holy shit. Can you believe it? Rested voices. People who've been working on their scales, people who've been working on their
Mhm.
repertoire, people who've been working on themselves, people who've been sleeping,
Mm.
you know. And it gardeners, absolutely, Rusty, you bet. It is
Yes.
it that is we will show the world that we are the sum of many parts, not
Mhm.
just voices.
Not just voices.
You know what I mean?
I do know
And
what
I
you mean,
think
and
that
that's the.
that's why you feel so empowered, because you've discovered
Mhm.
something new about yourself. And not only
I
that,
started.
everyone has discovered something new about you. I mean, all your friends, all of us, we've all known how fabulous you are. We've all known
Mm.
how, gregarious and generous and beautiful and loving and supportive you are, how, and intelligent and glorious. Now everybody else knows, right?
Yes.
We've all known that
Yes,
already.
ma'am. It's true. It's true. And I'm that's why I built this platform to spotlight for
Yeah.
people to have access,
Yeah.
for people to
Well,
see more
but
and
that's what
you
it's
for
all
your view. Mhm.
it's about access. It's about
Yes.
access. I mean, let's talk about
It is.
that. Honey, we haven't
Yes.
even gotten there.
We haven't even gotten there.
Mm-mm.
And as a teacher, you understand what that means,
You
and
know,
as an
as a
artist.
it does it, but also, we need to change the way we need to change the way we see artists. We need to change the way we judge singing and the way we judge singers. We have to recognize the fact that not everybody comes to something in the same way. Not everybody learns music the same way. One of the greatest musicians I've ever worked with was a singer named Don Washington. We used to sing together in college. He played
Mhm.
piano, and we would do dates in Alger's pub together. And he learned playing in church. And that, I mean,
Mhm.
Don could play and he could sing. I mean, we had a great time together. I never made any money because I drank most of it and smoked the rest of it. So cigarettes. Back then, I had already given up the weed.
You
But
graduated.
I
Gradu
would drink a 6 pack of beer and smoke a pack of cigarettes, and I had great low notes. I gave that up. Um, but you know, Don he wasn't trained the way everybody else is trained. Why do we look at artists why do we have to put everybody in a box and say, unless you're trained this way,
Mhm.
then you can't be this? Who the heck would have told who would have told that to Pavarotti, who didn't read a note of music? Sinatra, who didn't read a note of music. Sorry. Two
Right.
unbelievable artists who not only were great performers, but who were great musicians and who had great
Mhm.
opinions about music, knew
About
about
music.
music. And Pavarotti
Mm.
could teach. Hey, Morgan, Pavarotti could teach,
Mhm.
you know?
Mm. Right,
And and
yeah,
yeah, but he didn't read music.
right.
So who's to say that he wasn't a great musician? Now, am I saying that we shouldn't all know how to read music? Of course we should know how to read music. It's very helpful, you
Mhm.
know. But people come to art in many different ways, and it doesn't make it better or worse. It's just music. And
That's music.
until we start recognizing that, and until we start recognizing that there is music from everywhere, until we get away from this Eurocentric idea that, you know, I, I when I started doing recitals that were basically all American music, it wasn't that I didn't want to
Mhm.
sing French and German and Italian anymore. Of course, I love singing them.
Right.
But what's wrong with me just singing in English? Doesn't make me less of a musician. It makes me somebody who wants to communicate something that means something to me.
Yes.
And I, quite frankly, am tired of seeing these menu things where it's a little from column A and a little from column B, a little from column C, and then something funny at the end. Bye bye. And then sing some
Right.
arias where you actually sing, and then it's all over. That time is over. It's over.
Mm.
So now you have
It's over.
you have artists who present things like Julia Bullock presenting something like her show on Josephine Baker,
Mhm.
where people are presenting shows, are presenting music that is stimulating in more ways than one, where it's you're not only hearing great music, but you're learning something too.
Yes, exactly.
Great.
Substantive evenings of moving, and then why would I leave my house? Why? And that I've done a show and I was like, I learned nothing about this historical figure. Like, why are we doing this opera? This opera
Mm-hmm.
means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I get offers. I'm like, I'm not doing it. Even though I may not have anything in that period, I cannot sit for 4 weeks and
Mm-hmm.
sing some shit and it's not moving. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
learning anything, and no one in the audience is learning anything.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have
Yeah.
to do that.
If
On
people
the menu.
if people want to sit and let music rush over them, that's great. Spotify, fabulous. Do it. But when you're in live theater, that's why in all of my recitals, there's a ton of yapadoodle, as Warren would say. Where we started doing recitations of poetry. I'm not the only one that does recitations. So does Warren.
Mm,
We did a
mm,
recital of French and English cabaret music, where I was doing some Jacques Brel and Léo Ferré, and
mm,
we did Poulenc, and we did uh, Britten and Noel Coward. And Warren did a recitation of Ne me quitte pas, which was one of the most amazing things I've ever heard. And I'll never forget, in Spivey Hall, he finished doing this recitation, and the audience just burst into spontaneous applause because he just said, "Don't leave me. Don't leave me." And I was like, now I have to sing it? But when
right.
when the audience hears these poems in their
Yeah.
own language, and they are given a moment to react to the poetry, and then hear how the composer reacted to the poetry, you create
Mm,
this multi-level sensory experience that is it's remarkable. And I can't tell you how many I do projects like poetry projects like this at Tanglewood almost every summer, and I can't tell you how many kids write to me and say, I did my senior recital, I'm doing recitation. And people
mm.
are doing recitation. I think this is it's an important thing to do. And like I say, not everybody digs it. That same concert in Spivey Hall, or no, it wasn't Spivey, it
Um,
was in Nashville. I had a couple get up and leave. They just looked at each other like, I don't want to hear this anymore, and they just split.
right.
So
Okay.
I just watched them go, and I waved.
Yeah.
Bye. You don't want to be here, I don't want you here. If you don't want to be here, that's okay. That's all right.
That's a,
I'd rather that they leave than look at them every 5 seconds, going like pointing at the watch, because I sing with the
mhm.
with the lights up. I don't let the lights go down because I want to see the
Okay.
faces.
The faces, right.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
I want to see the
Hmm.
faces. An audience that can see each other polices each other. It's the quietest
Yeah.
audience on the planet. You turn the lights down and they think nobody can see them. I once had a
Mm,
really lovely audience member say to me, "Oh, I just love this show. It was wonderful." And I said, "Well, you were a great audience member. Thank you so much. I saw you during this song, and you were so supportive." And she's like, "You could see me?" I said, "Yeah. You were only 6 feet away from me. Of course I could see you."
mhm.
But she was shocked because it was like, "You mean it's not like when I'm watching TV?" No,
Mm-mm.
you know,
It's an interactive meeting.
it's interactive. But
Yes.
that when we present things like this, when we present music that means something to us, that is connected to
Mhm.
us, then the audience, like I said before, they will find themselves in that music, regardless of what it is. It may not be, it may be something that's completely out of their purview, but they will
Hmm.
find themselves in it. And that is the key to showing community. It is the key to people understanding one another. And we're so lucky to be involved in music, and to be involved in music that has words, because we can use that to connect community. We can use
Mm.
it to create community, to show that Black lives matter, to show that
Mm.
queer lives matter.
Yeah.
We can do it. We can do it if we use the music to make the connection. But if we use
Yes.
music just to show something off, it's stupid. It's stupid.
Mhm.
Who needs that?
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
point? You
What's the
know?
point? I mean, everybody's wondering, like, okay, so when we, all the diversity and all the inclusion and all the equity and which is, yes, we need all of those things. And everybody's going to be wanting these programs that
Yep.
reflect, you
Yep.
know, the time and reflect and bringing people to the table and everything. I mean, it's going to be quite an interesting next part,
It's going to
in the
be,
industry.
yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And the thing that's going to be interesting to start off with is we're going to have to deal with the issue of, you're just presenting this because it's de rigueur. You're doing this because people think that that's what we need to do now. No. And we're going to have to go through that period of time where it feels like tokenism, and it's going to
Mhm, mhm.
suck. And then people will realize this music matters. This music is important. And we need to learn who we are through this music. You know, we need
Mm,
to learn who
mm,
we are. It's how we can get closer together, because music is what
yeah.
shows how we are alike. You know, there's
Yes.
nobody who, how, let's make a list of songs. If you, let's talk about one song that everybody who's ever heard it or sings it goes every time. Zueignung
Yeah.
of Strauss, right? Zueignung.
Yeah.
For me,
Absolutely.
I'm telling you, I am going to do a sing-along concert of all art songs, and that will be the pinnacle of it. I will get everyone to sing Zueignung. We'll find a
Oh
family-friendly
my.
key, and we'll get everybody to do it. But
That's
that,
gonna be tremendous.
I don't care who you are. I don't care where you come from. I don't care whether you know this music or not. When you hear
Mhm,
that song sung, it goes boom like that. It just attaches itself to
mhm.
your soul. You can't help it. You can't
Can't
help
help
it.
it. Nope.
And that's why
Nope.
what we do is so important. And I'm telling you,
It
I am hearing music now. I mean, I had no idea. And I am incredibly embarrassed, because I am a singer who for the last 10 years has been touting American song, and I have
Mhm,
missed an entire section of it. I didn't know where to look. I didn't know.
mhm.
And I'm going to, and I'm working on making it better. I'm working on
Yeah,
I'm educating myself,
absolutely.
you know?
Because when you're curious, I mean, you have a desire and a
I'm curious.
yes.
I am
Yeah.
curious. I want to know.
Mhm.
I want to
Yeah.
know what's out there, and what's more, I want to teach it. And so
Yes.
every single one of my students at Bard this year, every single one of them,
Mhm,
I want every one of them to teach a song that nobody knows. Something that means
mm,
something,
mhm,
something that means something to them spiritually, emotionally, culturally, something. And I want
mhm,
to learn it. I want to learn a new song, and then I will
it
teach it to the next person.
yes. And that's how it grows. That's how
Yep.
it expands.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how
So
we
what's
grow.
next for you, Stephanie? What's next for you? Like what's not I mean not next singing because we know, but like, you know?
I'm gonna make a couple more ukulele videos. I'm gonna
Yes,
keep
you're
playing
like a
ukulele.
you and Nicole Houston are like winning the entertainment
Oh no,
of
Nicole
pandemic.
is so, oh, she is so much better than I am. I am sorry. That is, I mean, Nicole, I mean,
I know she's a goddess. Today's her birthday
is
too, so
okay. Well, happy birthday, Nicole. you amazing purple robe goddess.
Yeah.
Um, I love the ukulele. It's my musical Prozac. It's what I do to make me feel like I'm human and I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Mm.
connects me to music that is really important to me and that has spoken to me for a long time. And so I just do as much of it as I can, and it makes me feel better,
Mm-hmm.
and I get a lot of really wonderful, powerful feedback about it. So I'm going to keep playing the
Yeah.
ukulele. I'm working on a ukulele version of Di Forella, so that will be coming
Oh,
up. I've also have a ukulele version of Amarilli Mia Bella, which I'm working on. So that's it's coming.
that's a nice sing-along song
There you
too.
go. They all work. I mean, it's all 145, 145. It,
Uh,
so it's easy to do. But I feel like I'm going to spend a lot of time listening. I'm going to spend a lot of time doing research. I'm going to read some books. I'm already got, a stack of books that I'm working on. I'm going to
mm-hmm.
educate
Yeah.
myself. I'm going to learn some new music. I'm going to prepare Johnny Skiki. I'm going to work a lot on, what we're doing coming up at Bard.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, I've always loved to teach, but I've discovered something new about myself as a teacher and as a mentor. And I'm not a voice teacher. I don't have a studio. I've never had a studio. I think of
Ah,
myself
okay.
more. I'm like a consultant. I'm a good consultant.
Ah,
I'm a
mm-hmm.
good coach. But a teacher is a Sherpa.
Yeah.
A teacher
Mm-hmm.
is a Sherpa. A teacher is somebody who helps you climb the mountain and who shows you
Mm-hmm.
the places that you might fall and make sure that you don't. And then if you do
Yes.
fall, they help you they throw you a rope and help you get back
Exactly.
up. And I that is a really really tough job. And I can't I love voice teachers. I love them. They mean the world because you know
Mm-hmm.
the really great voice teachers, what they do is work to make themselves obsolete. And that's a
Mm.
tough job.
Certainly
That's a tough
is.
job. Yeah.
Yes.
But it's beautiful.
Mm.
And I can't, I'm very lucky. Dawn Upshaw created a magnificent program at Bard. Her dream there was fantastic. I could not be more honored to be, taking that baton from her and running with it. And I mean, working with Dawn my whole career has always been a blessing. And so this
Right.
is, and I have the most unbelievable team on the planet. Just incredibly talented, wonderful people. So that's my future. And
That's your future.
I will say one thing that I have been saying to a lot of my students and people that I've been talking about this time, and that's that I am not going to let Corona determine my life. I'm going to protect myself from it. I'm going to wear my mask. I'm going to wash my hands, carry on my hand sanitizer. I'm going to I'm going to be smart and social distance. I have not gone food
Mm.
shopping in 3.5 months.
You
I
said that. Yes.
I have a wonderful service that does it, and I have a fantastic shopper who takes really good care of me, and I'm very
Mm-hmm.
grateful to her, and I make sure that she knows that I'm grateful. And I just think that I'm going to do everything that I can to protect myself and my family and everyone in my immediate vicinity from getting this virus. But it will not make me, it will not be the thing that determines my future.
Mm-mm.
It will not.
Nope. Mm-mm. None of it. Nope. I agree. Yep.
We are going to have to work
Mm-hmm.
very hard together now, very hard. Black Lives Matter and, you know, and pride coinciding that is not a fluke.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a fluke. This is all happening at exactly the right time. I believe that with all my
Yeah.
heart. This is happening for a
Yeah.
reason. We are
Yes.
ready.
It's that. Mm-hmm.
This is our time. This is our time as human beings. We're going to make the right choices or we're going to put people leading the way who are going to make them for us. I want to take the bull by the horns, and I know you do too, because you're already doing it. And every
Absolutely.
single one of these people who's writing, we have to determine our futures. We are given a gift, and it makes me crazy when people do not recognize that gift and their responsibility to it. We are given doctors and we are given science that helps us to understand ourselves and our proximity to the world and what we need to do to make sure that the world continues, and so do we. To not take responsibility for that is a sin. And anybody who doesn't think that way, I'm sorry. You are fucking wrong. Pardon. So sorry. Too much of the vino.
Listen, I always have a dream to have an after hours show. So that's
Yeah.
later. That's
This
after we
is,
get on
yeah.
TV.
But you know what I
I,
mean?
I want to have an after hours
You
show,
got
but I don't
it.
know how the opera people would
No,
take that.
Kiki,
That's
I
later.
think Kiki After Hours is fabulous. Sign me
Yes.
up. Sign me up.
We cry for combos and we kiki for after
Yeah.
hours.
Yes. I would say, I always tell everyone, I'm like, when I do my drag show, I'm like, I'm very sorry. I work blue. I need my friends to know that, that's the old term for dirty language. I will say fuck in my show. And
Right.
I scream fuck you in my show at one point really loudly. And it's so
Yes,
cathartic. And I can't tell you how many times in opera I have wanted to yell that.
of course.
I can't even tell you. In fact, I will tell you that I have on record the loudest motherfucker on the Met stage. And that was during a tech rehearsal for The Ring.
Wow.
Yeah.
The loudest on record.
That it is. I was told loudest on record.
Wow.
So,
They didn't put that in the HD
that didn't make
in
it
the
into the movie.
backstage.
Mm-mm.
That didn't. That
That didn't make
didn't.
it in the movie. But, no, I preach a lot, and I have to say that I know how lucky I am. I know how lucky I am. I know how privileged I am to be in this position. I grew up, you know, we did not grow up rich and powerful in my family, you know, um, and I know what it is to want. Um, but I am still privileged as heck. Sorry, I don't care. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still privileged, and I am. It is an honor to have been in this career. It's an honor to be in it. And for me, the biggest gift is my if we don't use our powers for good, what is the point? Have you seen that video of that little boy from Mumbai? Have you played that video? Have you seen it? Have you all seen
No.
that? This little boy explaining to his mother why artists are the most important. And he's yelling at
Oh,
her. Have you seen it? It's
no.
brilliant. Just look up little boy Mumbai artists. You'll find
Okay.
it. It's on
Okay.
YouTube. It's on YouTube. His name is Savid, I think. And he says that people who say that artists are not important don't understand. They don't see that they are important because everyone is an artist. And if you see a
Mm-hmm.
program, it's art. And if you see a picture, it's art. If you watch a comedy, it's art. Who made the scenery? God made the scenery, which makes God the most important artist of all. But if God doesn't matter, then humans don't matter. And if humans don't matter, then animals don't matter. And if they don't matter, then there is no life. So you see, there is no life without art. And that is why artists are the most important. And everyone who says the otherwise, they are super wrong. This is a little kid.
Little kid out of the mouth of babes, as they say.
And that's
He
and that's
gets it.
just the truth. That's just the truth.
Mhm. It's the truth.
Humanity has looked to the arts to tell the truth for a long time.
All
And
the time.
we have gotten caught up, and I promise this was my last speech. We have gotten caught up in this idea of entertainment being something that is vacuous and stupid. Watching people do things like, watching this reality television that has actually
Mhm.
translated itself into our real life.
Right.
It's just
Mm,
entertainment. That's what it is. It's entertaining. You know, if
mhm.
you've had a beer or a glass of wine, it's fun to see people make
Right.
stupid mistakes and say stupid shit to each other, you
Absolutely.
know,
Mhm.
and see who ends up hooking up. Yeah, that's great.
Mhm.
But we make the mistake of calling that entertainment. It's not really entertainment.
Uh,
It's just
no.
stupid shit.
It is.
And
Absolutely.
the thing is that, you know, what we do, true art makes people look inside. True art connects. And I think that, you know, we are capable of so much. And I've always believed that artists are the thing that show humanity what is the best about themselves. And without art, we don't see our best.
Yeah.
Aha! Sorry, that's a pillow. That's needlepoint. No art
Nope.
equals crap. Art shows
And
humanity
you know
at
what?
its very best. It shows what we're capable of doing. It shows us what art gives birth to amazing things like solar power. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It gives birth
Yes, I do.
it gives birth to people who make Zoom. You
Ooh,
know,
exactly.
all
Exactly.
art
So that
creation is
artists can
art.
continue.
Pardon,
No, so
honey.
artists can continue to do the thing. So artists can
Totally.
continue to do the thing even through Zoom. Well, Stephanie,
I know.
I feel so blessed to have you as my friend, to call you my friend,
Thank you,
to
baby.
be I just remember when we were in Chicago, we were sitting in the rehearsal department and
Mm-hmm.
you were singing Azucena at the time, and my husband was like, "You know that lady?" I think it's the first time he had met you, and he
It
was
was.
like, "How long have you known her?" And I was like, "A long time." And then all the lunches that we've had over time,
Mhm.
not enough. And
We'll
you
have
are just
more.
so generous. We will have more,
We'll have more.
absolutely. You Yes, you've always been so generous and so kind with your time and
Thank you, babe.
your stories and just everything. And opera sing everyone always talks about famous opera singers and how they're this and they're that. And and I say, or they say, "Oh, you've gotten all these amazing people to come on your show." I'm like, these people are my friends. Like, these
Yeah,
people are who I know and
sure.
my colleagues. But I just thank you so much for your
Thank
generosity
you.
and your openness,
Thank you.
always, always, from day one. You are such a gem, a jewel. And
Well,
you know
you know, it's wonderful. What's really, and so many people have said it, but having an opportunity to talk and to air to just to air our dirty laundry sometimes, to talk about the
Mhm,
art, to do all of these things is healing right now. It's healing. And it's helping us
mm.
to utilize this time in the best way we can. And I think that when we come out of this, we're going to be better and stronger. And you are a big part of why that's going to happen. So I just love you very much. Thank you very much for listening to all my blah blah blah. Blah.
No,
And
I would talk to you for another hour. You already know this.
well, we've done 2 hours and 10 minutes. Not bad. But listen,
Not bad.
let's do after hours, please. Kiki
Oh,
after hours
yes.
has got to happen.
Kiki after hours. In the fall, we're gonna do it.
Hmm.
Y'all hear that? We are gonna do it. And you're gonna be the first one.
Please.
Yes.
I love you so much,
Oh,
sweetheart. Take good
I
care of
love
yourself,
you.
okay?
Okay. You
Thank you.
too.
Thank you
Everybody, thank
again.
you for tuning
Everybody,
in.
it's so good to see you all. Wear your masks now.
Judy!
I
Judy,
know
my
you see
memory.
Judy.
Oh my
Isn't
God.
that fabulous?
No way.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yes. Yes. Oh, okay. I'll talk to you soon though. Thank
Okay, honey.
you.
Lots of love.
Lots of love. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.